Well, we start the hour in South Africa, where President Jacob Zuma has expressed willingness to reimburse the state for spending on his home. It's an issue that prompted a national outcry and led to heckling and even scuffles at some parliamentary sessions. Zuma wants South Africa's auditor-general and finance minister to determine how much he should pay for the more than $20 million in state-financed upgrades at the private compound known as Nkandla. The announcement follows pressure from opposition parties, which have sought to take the case to the Constitutional Court. They've said the president failed to comply with a 2014 report by South Africa's government watchdog that concluded Zuma had inappropriately benefited from state funding. Zuma's legal advisor says it's always been the president's intention to abide by the law.
The president has always sought to implement a mechanism which would determine whether there's any amount that he ought to pay in respect of the security features that had been implemented at his residence. He has endeavored to engage with the Minister of Police. He has allowed the parliamentary process to take its course, all of which so that he doesn't sit in judgment over what is in essence his own case. The proposal which sits before the Constitutional Court at the moment is an endeavor to bring about a mechanism using a Chapter 9 institution like the Auditor-General, which would aid and assist, if the court deems it necessary, in determining what the audited expenditure was and what the audited contribution then would be that the president ought to pay.
Now, South Africa's largest opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, has slammed President Jacob Zuma's settlement offer to pay back a portion of the money spent on luxury upgrades to his private residence. In his settlement offer, the president proposes that South Africa's Auditor-General and the country's finance minister should determine how much he repays of that $20 million spent on Nkandla. Now, DA leader Mmusi Maimane said the timing of the president's offer is a politically calculated move, since the Nkandla matter is expected to be heard in South Africa's Constitutional Court on Tuesday.
President Jacob Zuma wrote a letter yesterday affirming the fact that he believes we must be able to settle the matter. We've taken a view that says that we must go to the Constitutional Court and proceed with our notice that we'd given to the court. We're asking the court to ask the president to comply with the public protector's remedial action. That remedial action compels the president to pay back a portion of the money that was spent, that was grossly spent in his private residence in Nkandla. It's a week before State of the Nation, and it's in an election year in what has been a process where the president has dragged this matter for a number of years.
Well, let's bring you more details on this story now. We're now joined from our Johannesburg studios by CCTV's Angela Coppola. Angela, we've just, of course, been listening to that bite over there from Mmusi Maimane of the Democratic Alliance, suggesting that President Jacob Zuma is not yet quite off the hook. Just explain to us what critics have been saying regarding the timing of this announcement and whether or not the Constitutional Court hearing will still take place.
Well, Lindy, the bottom line here is the court case is going to proceed, firstly because the DA is insisting on it, and we'll know tomorrow whether the EFF is going to join them in forcing that case to be heard. The issue isn't about whether Mr. or President Zuma should be paying back the money. Legal opinion around the country today suggests that it's about the power of the public protector to enforce her recommendations on the president, and part of that includes paying back the money. But the bottom line here is that it's about the public protector and not about whether President Zuma needs to pay back the money or not. And some analysts are suggesting that maybe there's been a misjudgment or a miscalculation, and that the proposal that's been put on the table supposedly in November last year is not going to have any impact on whether the court sits or not, because the court's ruling on something completely different. Lindy?
And Angela, when it comes to public opinion, we know, of course, that this very issue caused major disruptions in Parliament during President Zuma's State of the Nation address in 2015. Has the idea of avoiding a repeat of last year's chaos featured in the analysis on his decision to pay back some of that money at this particular point?
Well, firstly, the president is suggesting that he pay back around $660,000 out of that estimated 20 million that's due to go back to the taxpayers. the president's handlers are very aware of what happened last year, and they're very concerned that it's going to happen again. So this is seen as a bit of a play to try and get the EFF specifically not to try and disrupt that SONA meeting or conversation that's happening in Parliament next week. The president's handlers are also concerned about the international perception of the country and the fact that the country is struggling along economically with downgrade in terms of its economic growth just yesterday from the World Bank to 0.7%. So there's that issue that's also concerning them. And basically we want to make sure, or the country wants to make sure, that it doesn't project the wrong image, and any kind of disruption at that SONA is going to create the wrong impression. And of course the rating agencies are going to see that, and that will probably be another reason for them to consider their ratings downgrades in the next couple of weeks. Lindy?
All right, Angelo, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for that update. Angelo Coppola live for us there in Johannesburg. Well, President Jacob Zuma's announcement to repay some of those public funds used to upgrade his private home has certainly caused quite a storm on social media. Susan Mwangeli takes a look.
Trending under the hashtag #PayBackTheMoney, South Africans have been sharing their thoughts. Max Simply is calling on the resignation of President Zuma, saying 250,000 rands is nothing compared to the billions he alleges may have been lost under his leadership. Siahula says there is need for a lifestyle audit of Zuma and his family. The story has also been trending on Facebook. Sandewa Segote is skeptical about President Zuma's intentions to pay back the money and wonders where the president plans to get the money from. Sentiments shared by Mpakamisi. He believes it's a political ploy with elections coming up. Spesh thinks Zuma's offer is a desperate bid to save face and goes on to say that it's too little too late. The damage is already done. But not everybody has criticized President Zuma for this move. Nkandla-The has commended Zuma and says his announcement is proof that the ANC party respects Concord. And finally, Teboho Madibo has these words for Zuma: "Good job, Mr. President." Susan Mwangeli, CCTV.